Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions. It's this week 14. I think it's week 14. And last week I had my best week. I went 15 and 1. And if it wasn't for me not checking the weather in that Green Bay game, I would have been a perfect 16 and 0. And my total season record is 133 and 62. So last week, so far I'm having an okay predictions year. But is anyone having this feeling that this league is becoming, I don't know, predictable? If I'm going 15 and 1 in weeks like last week, something's up. That's all I'm going to say about that. But for bye weeks, we have the Indianapolis Colts, the New England Patriots, Denver Broncos, Houston Texans, Washington Commanders, Baltimore Ravens, all having byes. And this is the final week of the bye week as we entering the gauntlet part of the season. And this gauntlet of the playoffs will begin on Thursday Night Football with the Green Bay Packers taking on the Detroit Lions. Both these teams picking up Thanksgiving wins. One beating the Dolphins, the other beating the Packers. The Bears. Although the Lions win came with an asterisk with if it being due to Bears' horrible clock management issues. But the Lions, they could we have a playoff clinching scenario here. Because the Lions, they could clinch a playoff berth with the win. But in this game, here's the thing. These two teams have already seen each other this year. Week 9, Packers hosted the Lions. Lions went in, got the W, in one of just two outdoor games that they're going to play this year. And with this rematch being here, I've actually gone back and forth, but I'm going to go with the upset because I'm going to take Green Bay to get the win. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because the Lions had a kind of a, I don't want to call the word fluky win, but they had an unusual win last week. And the Packers, they just looked dominant last week. And I know the scoreboard said what it said. I think it was 30 to 17. It was far. It was more of. It wasn't even close. The scoreboard did not tell the story of that game. Next, we have God, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Tennessee Titans. Both these teams coming off losses. One team lost to the Texans, the other one lost to the Titans. And like I said, both these teams are garbage. This is going to be a legit tank bowl. And with Trevor Lawrence being knocked out of the game by a very dirty hit from that Texans player, that means Mac Jones will likely be in the game for this week. Which means Tennessee, I'm going to give you the win here. You're at home. I know this hurts your tank, but I just don't trust Jacksonville in this situation. Next we have is the New York Football Jets taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Jets losing to the Seattle Seahawks in a game that they pretty much dominated the first three quarters. It was more so a come from behind victory for the Seahawks. And the Dolphins, their winning streak came to an end in Lambeau Field in the cold against against the Green Bay Packers. And many people are starting to figure out that the Dolphins, they're soft. Not being put them in a cold environment late in the season when they desperately need wins. They usually fold like a pancake. Luckily, they're playing the New York Jets, and from what I've noticed, that the Jets could get eliminated from playoff contention with this game if they lose. And luckily, I see that happening. I'm taking the Miami Dolphins to win this game and to bounce back, and hopefully, they may be out of the division race, but that wild card race, there's still hope. And then we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Minnesota Vikings in what will be the Kirk Cousins revenge game. But for Kirk Cousins himself, he had a rough go at it last week. He threw not one, not two, not three, but four interceptions against the Los Angeles Chargers. Once again, I almost said San Diego. Meanwhile, for the Vikings, they pretty much struggled with the Cardinals the first 3.5 quarters. They had to get a come from behind win to get that job done. And this pretty much might be the Vikings' norm for the rest of the season. Close victories, get it done, rely on your defense. I can't believe I'm saying that about a Vikings defense. And in this game, this is anyone's. I think this could be anyone's game. I could see this game being Kirk Cousins rebounding, forgetting everything what happened last week, and he balls out against his former team. But at the same time, I could see him once again caving into pressure. I've gone back and forth. This is another game I've gone back and forth, and you know what? I'm gonna go with the revenge arc. I'm gonna take the Atlanta Falcons to win on the road against the Minnesota Vikings. And it's mostly because maybe they could get it together for once and maintain this division lead that they barely have. But for the I know the Vikings, their luck should run out at this point. All I'm gonna say. And now we have another tank bowl with the New Orleans Saints taking on the New York Giants. New York Giants, I never want to see them play the Cowboys in prime time ever again. They're bad. They're a bad team. They're just tanking the season out for a draft pick. Saints lost to the Rams, but they suffered a big loss for Taysom Hill as he torn his ACL, which means probably for the rest of his career he may not be the same guy again. Sucks for that. Hope Taysom Hill have a safe and speedy recovery. And with that being said, I'm just gonna go with the Saints to win on the road. They're the better team. They're not actively tanking, but we know they're trash. Ugh. We have the Carolina Panthers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles, right now, to me, they're the best team in the NFL. And I really hate saying that. They got a win over the Baltimore Ravens last week. And the Panthers, another close loss to their division rival Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know I enjoy watching Bryce Young grow as the season progresses. Something that should have happened last season, but this one might be ugly. I just hope the Panthers defense can find a way to stop Saquon Barkley. And knowing my luck, they won't. Also, the Eagles, they have a playoff clinching scenario, but it's very, very complex, so I'm not going to mention it. Now we have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Browns, Monday night loss to the Denver Broncos, where Jameis Winston threw for 400 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns, too. Well, 2 of those touchdowns came against the other team. I think he threw 2 pick-sixes in that game. So we got all of Jameis Winston in that one. Meanwhile, for the Steelers, a very impressive showing against the Cincinnati Bengals on the offensive side of the ball. Yes, Russell Wilson had himself a day against the Cincinnati Bengals defense. Again, that's not that hard to do because the Bengals defense they've been ugly this year. And for the Steelers, they hope to get their revenge over the Browns because not too long ago, it was the Browns that got a Thursday night win over the Steelers in the snow, come from behind victory over, and it was thanks due to a very questionable decision by Mike Tomlin in not taking the penalty instead of declining it. That's what happened. But with this game being in Pittsburgh, I can't bet against the Steelers at home. They're quietly becoming one of the better teams in the AFC. Next we have is the Raiders taking on the Bucks. Raiders actually haven't put up a good fight against the Chiefs and had a chance to win, other than some a very bad late game gaffe cost them that game. Meanwhile, the Bucks, they did not look that impressive against the Carolina Panthers, but at the end of the day, they made the plays to win games, mostly due to the running game. Bucky Irvin and Rachaad White, they both had really good games, and Baker Mayfield on a bad ankle, He made some clutch. He made some clutch runs to help Tampa to keep alive in that game. And with this being the Raiders at home game, possible. Yes, this is a rematch of Super Bowl 37, I think. Yeah, Bucks. I'm taking the Bucks blowout in this one. And now we got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Arizona Cardinals. And I feel like these two teams just played each other. Well, they did 2 weeks ago, which the Seattle Seahawks got the win. And last week, the Seahawks got a win over the New York Jets. But for the Cardinals, they had a tough road loss against the Minnesota Vikings. And their glimmer of light is starting to dim a bit. In this game, you know, I had a little rule, and I kind of showed it against the Steelers game that I already predicted, is that when a team take on a when a team played the same opponent twice in 3 weeks, it's tough to make the season sweep. Now there are a few exceptions to that rule, but most history context says that if I'm basing this off of history, the Cardinals should get a rebound home win over the Seattle Seahawks. But I will not be surprised if Seattle pulls the sweep off. It will be great for their divisional hopes. I'll say that. And then we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Bills getting a huge win over the 49ers in the snow, clinching their AFC East division, which is, I believe, is their third or fourth straight. I can't recall how many straight that is, but they won their division. And the Rams, they picked up a rebound win over the New Orleans Saints on the road. Good for them. But sadly for the Rams, they're facing a juggernaut of a team of Buffalo. They're starting to get healthy, which is something that they haven't had happen to them for some time. And I think the Bills team is starting to hit their stride. I got them winning this game in Los Angeles. It shouldn't be that close. Next we have is the Chicago Bears taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The Bears losing to the Lions in the most laughable way possible. Bears this last month have found impossible yet unique ways to lose games, and this organization had enough. They fired Matt Eberflus that Friday after he gave a press conference and his horrible clock management skills. And they named Thomas Brown the interim head coach from what I'm being told. But for Matt Eberflus, he became the first Bears head coach to get fired mid-season. Fired in the middle of a season. Meanwhile, for the 49ers, they're just dropping like flies at this point. Losing on the road to the Bills was one thing, but losing McCaffrey and Jordan Mason in the same game, yeah, that's pretty brutal. Niners right now, they need a hospital. This team has been suffering injuries, but also want to send our thoughts and prayers to Trent Williams. He did have a very tough family loss, which I'll explain why he has not been playing these last couple of weeks. Prayers to his family. But predicting this game, I was actually leaning towards the Bears. I could see the Bears winning this one, but luckily the 49ers is at home. I'm going to give the slight edge to the 49ers to win because at this point of the season, they got to start running the table if they want to think about the playoffs. And it takes us right into Monday Night Football where the Cincinnati Bengals will be taking on the Dallas Cowboys. And this game not only is going to be played on Monday night, it's also be played on ABC, but Disney Plus will be having a Simpsons themed game with this one. So that's good to know. Bengals, they put up 38 points and they lost to the Steelers. I think they became the first team to put up 35 plus points in multiple occasions and yet lose every time. And meanwhile, for the Dallas Cowboys, 2 straight divisional wins over the Commanders and New York Giants, although the latter is not that hard to do. In this game, I'm not going to let that, I'm not going to let the Cowboys winning 2 straight over divisional opponents distract me that this team is still not that good. I know Michael Parsons says they counting us out. They're counting us out. They're doubting us. We could still make a run and make the playoffs. Man, he sounds just as delusional as Jerry Jones is. I gotta go with the Bengals. They have to get a bounce back win if they even want to think about the playoffs. So I'm gonna go with the Bengals to win. And you know what? For the Cowboys, if you somehow beat the Bengals, I'll remove the trash can from you. And finally, my game of the week. We have the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers getting a road win over the Atlanta Falcons. Ladd McConkey, he had himself a game last week. And the Chargers defense picking off Kirk Cousins 4 times, with one of them being returned for a touchdown. And it helped my fantasy team get their second win of the season. Meanwhile, for the Chiefs, they're in Diaz Des Machina. They officially became the Pittsburgh Steelers of the AFC, pulling off BS wins, and nothing will change. Also, I do want to apologize to the Chiefs because last week I did not notice that they had a playoff clinching scenario with them winning and the Dolphins losing. They clinched the playoff berth there, but they do have a clinching scenario this week because they could clinch the AFC West with a win. That's something to keep their eye on. So in this game, because the Chiefs, they still have not put together a full 4 quarters of quality football yet this season. But this one is being played in Arrowhead. It's on Sunday night. It's prime time. It's tough for me to go against the Chiefs in this one. But I will say, I will not be surprised if the Chargers get the win. So that concludes our predictions this week. Here's what's been updated with the AFC playoff picture. No teams in the NFC have clinched a playoff berth yet. You see, the Chiefs have already clinched a playoff spot. Bills have already clinched the division. So that means the Chiefs, they're looking to move where the Bills are at when it comes to that divisional clinch. And again, that concludes our predictions. Tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll gamble safely, and I'll see you next time.